Hey, how are we doing here? I am having a little technical difficulty. My computer wouldn't turn on, so I'm on my phone.
Super fun.
What's that?
Super fun.
Fun? Okay.
Sarcastic,
Yeah, that's my day here. Computer won't work, so here we are. It makes it a little less exciting. But let me just ask you though, can you hear me? And yes, no?
I can hear you. It's a little, you can tell that it's not the same as your
It's not the same
normal
as usual. I know.
like
I don't
it's
know.
more echoey type thing, but that's
Right.
just sort of the what you're using.
I don't know if there's much I can do about it. Interestingly, I am not sure. Um, I've got we are recording, and the other thing is I have very little. I doubt for sure I can go. I can't go live on whatever on this virtual meeting. I'm good at YouTube, but I can't do it on live on Facebook. So it's getting recorded, and we can always upload it there. So I don't know. I think we're going to have a group, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah, after you think we can get this right after 180 episodes, I think we're close to. I got to count them up, but I think we're close. I think we are close. Anyway, I happen to notice we're gonna hello. We're gonna start. We're gonna go, and it's gonna be what's gonna be. Hello everyone. We're trying to start another episode of Live at Five with a little technical difficulties. We're having hiccups, but nothing we can't live with. That's the best. That's the best thing about the Jewish people. Our ability to live with hiccups. And boy, hiccups have we had. We have had hiccups for thousands of years. We've had all the best hiccups that money can buy. And time has shown that somehow we managed to squeak through and survive. So I apologize for the low tech today. I was actually talking to my buddy a few minutes ago, who he's a salesman in the tech industry. So he and his company do all kinds of corporate technical, sales and customizations and making sure that businesses can succeed with their tech needs. So I was asking him, how's the year been for him, the pandemic? So he says, well, I noticed that when I could meet with people visually, by Zoom meetings instead of having to go sit with them in person, it's like an hour meeting is actually only an hour. You don't have to drive there, and you have to schmooze for another few minutes and drive back. And every hour meeting is 2 hours. My hour meeting is only an hour. He said I gained 15 hours a week. Amazing. And but he said, but it really is necessary to see people. For the first time, if you don't need to be sitting in the same room, seeing people is good enough. He said sometimes people don't turn on their cameras, or they don't have a camera. I said, oh, if they don't have a camera, they really need you. Can you imagine that? A company, a business would certainly need that stuff to survive, and that's his thing. Anyway, I'm having technical difficulties today. So, but that's all they are. It's just a technical difficulty. It's nothing bigger. The things could be a lot worse. And, we could, I found out over Saturday night that still negative. What can I say? That's a nice thing. This virus just doesn't seem to be for me. I don't know. I don't know to make that. I'm very appreciative. But I've been hanging around a bunch of people that are positive, and it doesn't seem to rub off. So it's just a funny thing. What? You're muted, Andrea. Sorry. What were you look like you
You
were?
have the antibodies?
No, I don't have any antibodies. I checked once, didn't have any, and since then I haven't gotten it. Nope, no antibodies. Don't know
bodies. You have pro bodies.
It's just a weird thing. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah,
Someone said to me
that
they were very concerned, and they had the vaccine in their family. And she said she came over and dropped off a whole bunch of vitamins. Very sweet. And she said, "Here, take these." And I said, "Listen, kids have it, the adults don't, and that's just the way it goes." And she said, "This bug It has every bug, every, I don't know, we call them virus particles, has a name on it. You know, Hashem sends what he sends, and he sends it to whom he sends it to, and there's just there's no rhyme or reason to it that we could see. That's kind of the way the world works. We very rarely get to peek behind the scenes and to understand what's
right.
Why it's going on in his life or her life, but not his life and not her life. We just don't get to understand that. It happens to be that it was the topic, one of the topics in a very big parsha of last week. Last week's parsha was chock-a-block with so many different massive ideas. It was hard to, there's so many big things in there. And one of the things that's in there is a conversation where it seems like Moshe is asking, I want to understand. The Talmud looks at last week's parsha and says, Moshe was asking the question, the one that's on all our minds, the big question everybody wants to know. He was asking, why do bad things happen to good people? That's the big question, right? That's what they write the books about. That's what we all want to know. Why do bad things happen to good people? Now, the interesting thing is the way that the Talmud records is a little differently than we would ask it. We would say, I'm bothered and confused. Why do bad things happen to good people? It seems unjust to us, and you're just, so we don't understand. That's the way we would ask the question. Moshe says, I don't get any of it. I don't see why good things happen to good people, bad things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, and good things happen to bad people. I don't understand any of it. There's all four possibilities, and you know what? None of it makes sense to me. Now that is a very different approach. It's not so much that he's saying, look, I would expect that the righteous lives that we live are somehow appropriately deserving of the good life that God sends, and the bad lives are deserving of the bad things. That doesn't make more sense to me than anything else. And one of the commentaries that I saw on the Nesiva Shalom, he says, what Moshe wanted to see? He said, I want to understand. People will make the right decision sometimes. People make the wrong decisions. The Jewish people will sometimes be what it needs to be and sometimes won't. The golden calf, we blew it. And Moshe's question was, I want to know what kavod shemayim is going to come out from all this. I want to understand. All of this somehow is going to bring out kavod shemayim. Now, what is kavod shemayim? Kavod shemayim is the honor of heaven, the divine honor. Meaning to say, what is going to produce, what in this moment, and he was talking about the golden calf, a horrible moment, what from this is going to be a glory and an honor to God? Now, the way that Moshe asked it is, of course, as I said, it's different. It's not about just a seeming injustice of the world not running the way we think it's supposed to run. We feel like we see people that are wonderful and their lives aren't, and we wonder about that. Or we see people that we think that they aren't wonderful and their lives seem to be, and we wonder about that. That's our question. That's what bothers us. Moshe wants to know, in all of these things, where is the glory of God revealed? The way that he asked the question is very informative. And this is probably not a topic that, but thank God we're not broadcasting on the Facebook, because I don't know if your average Facebook viewer is ready for this. But in a 401, in Live at 5, we've done 180 episodes or so. It's about time. We just laid it out on the table. Let's talk about the big stuff here. The big stuff is this. A real way that a Jew is meant to think is, what is it in my day, in my life? What is it that I can do to bring out the greater glory of God? Right? The kavod shemayim. If it's one thing that we do, it's the one attitude or one ultimate goal that we have. It's that we should be instruments of kavod shemayim, that through us the world should see kavod shemayim. Now that, although I'm calling it an advanced attitude. I think you really have to have you have to have your head screwed on straight, and you have to have learned a lot of Torah, and you have to be very invested to really think about things that way. It's the right attitude. It's not a difficult thing to do necessarily, but it's a
concerted effort.
You have to make it. Have to be let's say a concerted,
absolutely,
in a conscious effort. Meaning to say, we should actually think this way. This is what we should. It should be. We should be motivated by this, and it should be important to us. You know. And now, in terms of how do we do that, what does that mean? What would it look like? What would it look like for a person to lead a life where what motivates them and what's important to them and what they care about and their goal in life is to be someone through whom God's glory is revealed, through the honor of heaven comes about, that the world should see divine greatness through me. How would that happen? There's an idea that's basically attributed to one verse in the Tanakh. And we read it in one of the Haftarahs, I forget which one. And it says, Kol, I forget the second word, Kolma, everything that's in my world. It says Barasiv, Yitzartiv, Asisiv, Likvoidi. That everything in the universe God created and made that it should be for God. And everything is like that. Everything, whether it wants to be or not, whether it strives to be, whether it thinks about this, everything that God made is for his honor, he says. Everything, afasisiv likvoidi. Everything is for my honor, so God says. There's I was looking around on my shelf over here. I have a copy of it. I don't know where my copy is. I have a couple of a little medrash, which people like to has become more and more popular. It's known as what's it called again? Perek Shira. Perek Shira is called
the Song of the Universe.
Actually, chapters of verse. That's what it means. Chapters of song. And basically, it's a number of chapters. And what this lovely medrash does, it's quite long. For a book, it's extremely short, but for a medrash, it's long. But it basically goes through every part of the universe: the skies, the heavens, the earth, the trees, the birds, the animals, all the way down to the birds, the beasts, and even the insects. And every aspect of the universe has its particular shira, its particular song, right? The song that it sings, Perek Shira, has become in Oh, look at the copy of Perek Shira. That's a beautiful copy. That's a copy from isn't that from the artist Yonah Weinreb? Yeah.
Art Scroll.
Oh, it's the art.
Rabbi Nosson Sherman.
Okay.
It is a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful one. It's a big, beautiful version. I've seen another one by Yonah Weinreb, also very nice. Look at that. Pictures and every page. Look at that. Thanks for sharing that. Does everybody see that? Yeah, there's the wheat. What does the wheat say? Or the wind? The thanks for sharing that with us, Andy, the pictures of it.
Yes.
I have you can get a bunch of copies, and even a little one. They don't have, but that's a nice one. There are those who have a custom to read it regularly, and the Medrash says great things about. Our sages said if you read this regularly, you'll go places, eternally speaking, of course. That and that meant that that means that the lessons that are being espoused by it and being shared by it are very significant ones. So what is the point of it? each facet of creation, whether it's mineral, animal, vegetable, each facet of creation has its specific shira, its song. You know, it's this, and a song is a like we see singing God's praise.
Praising.
Yep, singing God's praises, as we say in English. Singing God's praises, and every aspect of creation has its song. That means each person, each beast, each bird, each part of the world.
Say, Rob, I have to leave. I
Okay.
have courtside tonight, so
make it to shul.
Right.
Good job. Take care, Larry. May whoever's neshama it is may their neshama have it.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
So the concept. Go ahead.
It said, I just randomly opened up on page 15. It said, it is true that the creatures of the universe sing their own songs constantly, never failing to serve God. It is also true, however, that the center of the universe is man. He must not only recognize God, but to the extent that he does so, his service of God energizes and elevates the rest of creation. I mean, that's just a mere sentence in the book of Song of the Universe.
I think that's like a very good introductory point made, that, you know, there is certainly a central role. Mankind plays center stage. That is for sure true. Humankind. We the fascinating thing is that reality, that every entity in the world, every moment even, has its particular divine song to be sung. That's sometimes, you know, some moments are terrible, some moments are awful. The good moments, we may say that, you know, that it's clearer, right? This moment is a great moment in Jewish history, and naturally we see it as providing juice, you know, glory of God. But in addition, there are times when you know, when there are other things to see. It's harder to see when Jewish people are not, you know, are not actively participating in that, and somehow the glory of God comes out anyway. And that's the more difficult thing. And I think somewhere in there is what is perhaps a glimpse or a glimmer, a faint glimmer of what Moshe Rabbeinu is asking. It's the golden calf. It's a tremendous low point. And last week's parasha, and the Jewish people were about as, you know, almost as far away from God's desires for them as we could be. And yet somehow that also fits into God's plan. You know what Moshe said? I know that this is just as much a moment of going to be a moment of divine glory somehow, and I just don't know what it is. And that's what his question really was. And God says to him, ultimately, what's the answer? He says, you know, I can only show you myself from behind, but not from the front, which means, in a sense, temporally, it means you can't really understand that while you're alive. But you can understand it, you'll only understand it after you've left this world. While a person is in this world, our purview, our vision is too limited. No. We have too limited a purview. It's a narrow view. We can't see the whole picture. We won't see the whole picture. We won't understand it. The Chavetz Chaim gave a great metaphor. It's a little bit like if you leave early from a movie. I don't know what he knew about movies. Maybe he gave a different metaphor, but I think he did. I think he gave a metaphor about the movies, which I guarantee he never saw one. But you know, if you leave, like they used to say, you know, what happens if you play a country western album, a record backwards, you know, you spin it backwards. So the guy gets his horse back and his dog back and his truck back and his girl back. So, but meanwhile, if you walk out in the middle of a western, an old western film, you know, then the movie ends and the villain has the damsel tied up on the train tracks. And the hero is too far away, and the train is coming, and she's about to get run over. And if you leave, then it looks very bleak. It's terrible. Oh, yeah, she's going to get run over. He's not going to save her. The villain is going to get away with the gold, and it's just looks so great. But if you sit still and you wait till the end of the movie, then the hero makes it in time, and the train doesn't run over her, and the villain gets captured and thrown in jail, and the day gets saved. And so you have to wait till the end. But we don't have that. We don't have that version. Our lives, our human lives, are like walking out before the end of the movie, and we don't get to see the end of the story. We don't see it all, and justice is not always served in our faces. And therefore the ultimate moment where there will be a recognition of the divine glory that's inherent in every moment. We don't see it, but we will. We will one day, and we don't understand it, but we will. So if we would accept that premise, that's what's important, that's what counts and what matters, then we would then I think we would make our decisions, maybe differently than otherwise we would. So, a person does, you don't have to necessarily do any huge, heroic, historic, epic type of things in your life necessarily to have a perfectly successful life of being out the kavod of heaven. But you could bring kavod, glory and honor to heaven with just with a simple life. You follow the basic instructions of the Torah, of God's, and live as a person who cares about godliness. And that in and of itself, it is it. That's really what it takes. You can much better to be a vehicle of glory of God from the positive standpoint than the negative. And that doesn't, it doesn't take, you don't have to necessarily find a cure to the pandemic to do that. But leading a quiet life of avodas Hashem, of service of God, and trying to bring out the glory of God with every moment of your day, that you can do. A simple, an honest life, a sincere life, a holy life. All of those wonderful things, is really, that's really the way that happens. And I think we spoke about this a little bit once. We touched on the idea that we sometimes think, what is my purpose in life? If you have a person ever has like this deep thoughts about the big picture, what's my purpose in life? And sometimes one imagines, we've all been sort of we've watched too many Hollywood movies and too many Disney classics, and and everybody wants to be a prince or a princess or a hero or a heroine. We think that things have to be really big to be important and valuable and meaningful. Talmud says otherwise. We talked about this also once. There's a story in the Talmud. One of the children of the Talmudic sages was very ill and was on his deathbed. He had almost like a near-death experience where he died and resumed living. He didn't stay dead. But he had a glimpse. Talmud says he had a glimpse of the world to come. And his father, when he was better and he was able to talk, his father said, "Well, what did you see?" And he said, "Well, I saw an upside down world." Really, an upside down world? What's upside down about it? So he described it. He said, that people that seem to be very important, significant people here, up there, not so much. And people that are seemingly insignificant, people small, maybe unaccomplished, insignificant people here are really big up there. And it was this, and there was a suggestion that in fact, what we necessarily value here and what we respect and what we glorify and what we put up on a pedestal is not necessarily what's going to be put up on that same pedestal in heaven after 120. What God considers greatness does not necessarily mirror or map right back onto what the world considers to be greatness. A very humble, modest, holy life may not attract attention in this world, but it could attract great, it could be of something of great note and great value that will be very recognized in the next world. Now, what's my purpose in life? Well, it could just be, listen, follow the basic dictates and instructions faithfully of the Torah and the mitzvahs, and that may not make headlines, and you may not have a billion viewers on your YouTube channel, but in heaven you'll have a lot of fans. In heaven you'll have fans. I mean, the other day we were sitting in, I think it was earlier this week, my daughter was showing me what are the most watched videos on the planet. There are certain things that have been seen over 1 billion times. I mean, multiple billions of times. So can you imagine? There's a song from from China called Baby Shark. Have anybody heard of Baby Shark? If you have, yes. I'm not surprised, because you and most of the human population also have apparently seen this. It's been seen by as many people as there are on the planet, I think. Andrea, we'll have to show it to you, but you're not missing much. It has got to be the most inane song on the face of the planet, and yet it's been seen billions and billions of times, and it's just shocking. What makes waves in this world?
Seen or heard?
It's a video. It's a YouTube video. It's a little song, like a video.
My
and
is it animated?
It's the children's song, and so children sing it over and over and over again, hundreds of times.
Very
all right. I'll pass. It's okay. I won't be part of the billion who watch it. It's okay.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
No, you're definitely not missing it. But again, if we're trying to lock on to what's valuable in God's eyes,
mm-hmm.
and we're trying to make decisions based on that, they don't have to really be the kinds of decisions that make the news. I think that's one of the most important things that perspectives that we could have, and it's very comforting. It should be very comforting. I could live a quiet life which has inestimable eternal value,
mm-hmm.
and decisions that can be made and things that I can accomplish right here at home. Nobody might even know so much about them, and yet they are. I can bring out
merit.
The glory of heaven with every moment of my day and with decisions I make, overcoming challenges, making the right decision, especially when the chips are down and things are tough, and those things may not be so valued in this world. But that's that's your purpose. What's your purpose for creation? That's what you do. Everybody sings our song. Your own song is your own song. Nobody sings your song. And so how we deal with one of the ways that we see this very significantly, it was when it comes to how we deal with the challenges. What comes out of a moment that looks like it's not the best? It looks like it's all, when everything's all going wrong. How do we deal with that moment? That's a significant revelation of who we are and what we're really on about. So in Hebrew, we have a word for an obstacle.
Machlokas.
Well, a machlokas means like an argument between people. But a person, you could have an obstacle even just by yourself. So it could be like a hurdle to overcome. It is a nichshol. The word nichshol means an obstacle. And we say, in fact, lifnei iver lo sitein nichshol, before the blind, don't put a stumbling block. And that's that word in the verse. And, when we say don't put it in front of the blind, it doesn't just mean literally a person who can't see, but it means that, you're setting people up to fall. And that could be a lot of, like giving an alcoholic a drink, just as one, and we all have things, this is not just in the extremes with alcoholics and blind people. We all have certain things that we will likely stumble over. Challenging moments, challenging situations, challenging people, challenging interactions, challenging days. We all have those challenging days. We generally pray that God should keep those away from us. I think actually there's a part of the daily liturgy. I think every morning we make a request that we ask that God should just sort of keep all these things away from us. And,
Yes.
we say in the morning in the one of the at the morning after we make these blessings, and we say please what's the word, accustom us to your Torah and bind us to your mitzvos, and don't bring us into situations of transgression or nisayon. And nisayon means this idea. It doesn't use the word nichshol, but it's a very similar idea. And nisayon is like a test. And then a nisayon means like where this is something that is really a struggle for me, a challenge, something that I'm gonna, maybe not gonna make it. And sometimes we're not gonna make it. Sometimes we're gonna stumble. All of these moments are yet somehow able to be. They will be somehow. There will be the glory of heaven will come out from them somehow. So one of the things that that we can look at the parsha, we can look back at the Jewish history, and we can feel comforted, is because there's been plenty of stumbling blocks, and we can read about them as history. We can, knowing full well that we still, the Jewish people made it through. That it wasn't a game over, and that I think is a source of great comfort. The Jewish people can stumble and fall and get back up, and even though we don't necessarily see the glory of God that comes out from such a thing, not going to see it in this world, not going to understand it in this world, it'll come out, and nonetheless we'll move on. So that was for some reason that was on my heart today. I'm not exactly sure why, but maybe it was
good message. Great
minor
message.
stumbling block of my computer dying on me, my new computer. Okay, we'll see. Probably it'll come back. Hopefully by tomorrow at 5:00. And the good news is, I think I'm getting out of quarantine another day or two, and then we can go back to the office. Maybe we can have some more guest speakers. They're a lot of fun. Meanwhile, there is a great the one announcement that I wanted to make is there is a very, very nice publication for Passover by our local VOD, the Scroll K, called the Kashrus Comments with K's. And if you haven't already got one in print or downloadable version, they are available, and you can get them if you look. There was a link in the email of the Jewish Experience this past week, the Cholent, which anyway you should get a copy of. There was a good joke in there. The joke was this, and I'll leave you with this: a priest and a rabbit went into the clinic, and and they asked the priest. He said, "What's your blood type?" And he said, "Type O." He said to the rabbit, "What's your blood type?" He said, "Type O." I got that. I didn't say that joke right. Type A, and the rabbit is type O.
Type O.
Try that again. All right, blow it. Anyway, you get the joke. We'll at least turn the recording off.